watching the News Hour Special Edition.
It's been 37 days since the CBI has taken over the Sushant Singh Rajput case after his family was apprehensive about the Mumbai Police probe. However, till date, they do not seem to have got any leads in the case. The status report is still awaited, and even basic information regarding the case has not yet come to light. Sushant's family is questioning the apparent inaction. They only have one plea, that the probe agency should fast-track the probe and give them justice and closure. Take a look at this report before we head into the debate.
It is the speed which is worrying us. It is the lack of interest or the lack of importance that the case is being given that is worrying us.
The family of Sushant Singh Rajput is fast losing patience. It's been over 3 months since the actor was found dead at his apartment in Mumbai, but the mystery around his death continues.
Speed at which the whole case is going. It is the speed which is worrying us. It is the lack of interest or the lack of importance that the case is being given that is worrying us. The CBI team is here for more than a week. They were supposed to meet the AIMS team. They have not even had a meeting with the AIMS team to my knowledge. And because of which the decision to convert this case from abetment to suicide, if at all, to murder, is not taking place.
A case which was supposed to started as justice for Sushant has become about everything else rather than justice of Sushant. Speaking, the justice at which this entire country or the complainant's family or everyone for that matter was wanting to have, that does not seem to be kind of moving at that pace or at that direction.
The delay in the probe of Sushant Singh Rajput's death case has now resulted in the family itself raising certain questions. The family's lawyer has now caused certain apprehensions over the entire probe, going to the tune of saying that the slow probe is now hurting the family itself. They're trying to understand that why is it that a death case which was now transferred to the CBI is still awaiting a conclusion. Why is it that despite being 100 days of this death case, there hasn't been any headway? There have been 3 central investigative agencies involved in trying to understand what really transpired and looking into the allegations which have been made by the family members. These include the CBI, the ED and the NCB. While there have been several arrests made by the NCB, the CBI is yet to issue a statement with regards to what really happened or what is the kind of headway they have already made into it.
The NCP and the Congress have got an opportunity to attack those who accuse the Mumbai Police of a cover-up.
What has happened to the blame on Aghadi government or on Mumbai Police? Nothing worth, sustaining the allegation against Mumbai Police or Aghadi government has come up.
गए 3-4 महीने से सुशांत सिंह राजपूत के मृत्यु की जांच सीबीआई कर रही है, ईडी कर रही है और अभी एनसीबी कर रही है. हालांकि वो जाना था जापान, पहुंच गए हैं चीन, कुछ अलग ही जांच चल रही है.
The transfer of the Sushant case to the CBI by the Supreme Court had rekindled a hope of justice. But even as 37 days have passed, the CBI has still not filed even a status report. How long will the deceased actor's family have to wait for closure? Bureau Report, Times Now.
And a big breaking development in the meanwhile, it's not just the Sushant case in which the CBI is facing flack. A Delhi court has now pulled up the CBI on the Moin Qureshi case as well, saying that a probe which keeps gathering dust for years may erode the credibility of the CBI. That's a massive development coming in. The investigation of the CBI coming into question once again. Navika Kumar joining us, group editor. Also with us is Harish Nair and Hina Gambhir. But I'd like to come across to you first, Navika. It's not just the SSR case where the role of the CBI dragging its feet has been alleged. This is now not just an allegation of an interested party, but a court of law that is raising questions about the delay in terms of interrogating key persons of interest in this case.
That's right. In fact, Madhav, the Supreme Court in an observation and in an order yesterday has pulled up the CBI, and it has said that it needs to live up to its reputation. This is with regard to the Moin Qureshi case, which was also also seen as a big corruption case where a former CBI director like Mr. AP Singh had to resign from his position in the UPSC. Also, Ranjit Sinha, ex-CBI director, has been named as playing some sort of a role in this entire case and not investigating the case properly. Now, yesterday's judgment by the Supreme Court pulls up the CBI that in all of these years that particular case of Moin Qureshi was being investigated. Till now, AP Singh and Ranjit Sinha, both former directors of the CBI, have not even been questioned. And there is no evidence of this case coming to a conclusion. So on two cases, one, the SSR case where the entire country is glued on what the CBI finds in this particular case. And on the other hand, it is not just the SSR case, but also in the Moin Qureshi case in the CBI court at Rouse Avenue, where the judgment or the order by the CBI court actually says that the CBI has been found wanting in the manner in which it is conducting its investigation. So this new order from the CBI court and if you look at the SSR court really puts a big question mark. From a caged parrot that the CBI was called in the UPA era, is it now a sleeping parrot? That's the question many people are asking.
Well, absolutely, Navika. In fact, let me quickly go across to Hina, who has a copy of that order on the big screen there. Yes, Hina, take us through the operative portion of that.
Well, this is the order that Times Now's Navika Kumar has accessed, and let me just highlight what exactly was observed by this special CBI court in the Moin Qureshi case on 7th of August 2020, which is last month only. It said, such open-ended investigations which keep on gathering dust for years together may seriously erode the credibility, faith of public at large in premier investigating agency of India, that is CBI, which is deleterious to the rule of law, more so when one of the accused in the above RC is Shri AP Singh, ex-Czar, ex-director of CBI. Now, AP Singh was named as an accused in this particular case way back in 2017. We are here talking about 2020. Still, nothing has happened. And then yesterday's observation is also very, very significant. It says the image of CBI as premier investigating agency of India is redoubtable. However, at the same time, it has to rise to the occasion to investigate the allegations against its own top two ex-honchos to further enhance its eminence, as there comes a time in the lifetime of any institution or organization where it finds itself at the crossroads. Then it has to take a path which is the right path, which leads to sunshine and glory. So clearly now it is upon the CBI to come out and respond as to why these kind of statements, why these kind of aspersions are being cast upon.
Well, some very important questions, Hina, that the CBI certainly has to answer. I want to quickly go across to Harish as well. Harish, this is very, very significant because remember, the Supreme Court has also been seized of the matters pertaining to the conduct of Ranjit Sinha and AP Singh. And this is a test case for the CBI also because it is his own ex-top bosses who are coming into question, as the Supreme Court has observed. And this comes in the backdrop of the SSR case where there are still more questions of the CBI that are being asked.
Yes, sir, that's right, Madhav. Not only in the SSR case, now the CBI is also being pulled up in the Moin Qureshi case, which has been hanging fire for the past 5 years. And look at these very pertinent questions. The CBI court in Rouse Avenue has asked, does the name of Ranjit Sinha, who is alleged to be linked to Moin Qureshi, is also being investigated? If so, whether he was also examined in this case? If not, why? Number two, why CBI did not bring investigation in this case to a logical end by using tried and tested methods of investigation like searches, custodial interrogation of potential suspects? It also asks whether the role of another ex-director, Alok Verma, was also investigated, that he allegedly stalled. Very important observations. He allegedly stalled or did not allow the investigation to reach its logical end during his tenure. So these, and why AP Singh, ex-director CBI, as stated in para F of reply has not been examined in this case. So it means that CBI is the very pointed question from Rose Avenue Court.
Harish, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there because we have to go across to our guest now. I'd like to thank you, Harish, as well as Hina and Group Editor Navika Kumar for joining us on the broadcast. Let's quickly go across to all our guests. Rajiv Pandey is with us, advocate and spokesperson of the BJP. Varun Singh, the briefing lawyer in the SSR case, also joins us. Dr. Suman C. Raman, political analyst, is with us. Ujjwal Nikam, special public prosecutor. Kishore Tiwari, supporter of the Shiv Sena, also joining us on the broadcast. Let me come across to you first, Rajiv Pandey. Some very serious questions that are being asked of the CBI, sir, and the conduct of the CBI. The premier investigating agency of this country is today under a cloud.
Madhav, I don't think so. What is the issue and how the Honorable Court has reached to this conclusion, I am not aware about that, because I have just seen on your channel that this is a statement given by the Honorable Court about the CBI.
May I tell you, sir? May I just come in for just 10 seconds? The observation is that the ex-bosses of the CBI, that is Mr. AP Singh and Ranjit Sinha, have not even been questioned. They have not even been questioned, sir, after the passage of 3 whole years.
Madhav, agency, government or political parties are not going to interfere in the agency's work. It is the CBI which has to take care of all these things.
I am not saying that political parties have to interfere in that at all. I am just saying that the court has observed and a section of people are raising questions as far as the SSR probe is concerned. Gentlemen, I request you all to please bear with me a few more minutes because we have Mr. Subramanian Swamy, Member of Parliament in the Rajya Sabha, joining us live. Dr. Swamy, thanks so much for joining us, sir, on the broadcast. The revelation that has just come out as far as the Moin Qureshi case, where a court has pulled up the role of the CBI. It's not just the SSR case, where the investigation has alleged to be, a tardy one by the CBI, but also in the case of Moin Qureshi, the conduct of the CBI, now the court says there's no doubt about it being the premier agency, but it has to rise to the occasion.
Well, it's not only these two, but even in the Cole case, there was a lot of strictures passed. I think the issue is here, first of all, if the Bombay Police has been playing ducks and drakes, and so is the CBI. What will happen to the public confidence that our elected representatives will ensure that justice is done in all matters where crime is committed? Even in corruption cases, we are finding where it's open shut cases this happening. But in this particular case, what disturbs me most of all is the law that is being broken. See, in all the other cases you mentioned, there was an FIR registered, then there were charge sheets filed and all, and then nothing happened, like in the Moin Qureshi case. But in this particular case, even an FIR has not been registered after, I think, 40 days. And what the law says is so clear that FIR is the first thing you have to register. This goes for Bombay as well as the CBI. And it's there in section 154 of the CRPC, right, which every officer is supposed to have. And what the Supreme Court has said, and this is what I want to tell the CBI, the word shall, because what it says in section 154 on the FIR is that any information comes in, it shall be reduced in writing by him. And that is the FIR. And the court says the word shall used in this section 154 leaves no discretion in the police officer to hold preliminary inquiry before recording the FIR. Use of the expression information without any qualification also denotes that the police has to record the information despite it being unsatisfied by the reasonableness or credibility of the information.
Right. If I may, Dr. Swamy, what is the allegation that you're making? Do you believe that the rich and the powerful in Bollywood have somehow used their influence to try and sort of sway the CBI's probe? Is that the charge that you're making here, sir?
CBI can only be swayed by politicians. So since the CBI is under a Minister of State in the center as well as overall in charge of the Prime Minister, who has so many other engagements, so he relies on his principal advisor.
Right.
And these are the people who have to be examined.
Right.
The Minister of State is a very straight, upright man. Maybe things have bypassed him.
Okay.
But the principal secretary to the Prime Minister is, in my opinion, the former 9 years private secretary to Mr. Sharad Pawar.
Okay.
So therefore, I think this delay could be traced to him.
If I may just play devil's advocate for a minute, Dr. Swami, a simple question that I want to ask you: is it possible that the CBI has, through the course of its investigation, come across material that it cannot make public for the purpose of the investigation itself, or that it has perhaps been unable to find anything clinching? Because there's a lot of circumstantial evidence, but perhaps they have not been able to lay their hands on something clinching.
FIR has got nothing to do with clinching evidence. You have information that an unnatural death has taken place, and therefore you have to register an FIR. And then you investigate. When you come to file your final report, that is the charge sheet to the court, before that you can evaluate your evidence. Can we go and tell the court that yes, there's a charge which can be made and a trial can begin? But at the FIR stage itself, you have no right to evaluate the evidence. You have got an information and you must register an FIR.
All right, Dr. Swami, before I let you go, your final demand from the CBI registering an FIR, and what would you like to see them do? Would you like to see them come out and make a public statement as to the status of this investigation?
Well, that afterwards. First register the FIR, and I'd like to see how it is written, and then I can ask, what have you done so far? Because if you have already had preliminary investigation, then you'll have to append it to the FIR.
Okay.
So that we can know how far we have come.
All right. Dr. Swami, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us here on the show today. We'll certainly have to wait and see what the CBI's response is to this story. But thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to quickly go right back to our panelists joining us. We have Ujjwal Nikam, Special Public Prosecutor, also joining us on the broadcast. I'd like to come across to you, sir. Mr. Nikam, your evaluation of the situation, because, you have a situation where for 1.5 months, the Mumbai Police was investigating this entire matter, and or close to 2 months, in fact. And now, 37 days later, we or the people at large, and a lot of viewers have been calling us on the story, saying that they expected to get a better understanding from the CBI probe as to what has transpired. Do you think the criticism of the family and the lawyer of the family in this case is valid?
Mr. Madhav, at the outset, I would like to say, whatever Mr. Swami has said so far as the absence of FIR, that is not a factual correct position.
Correct.
CBI, before taking any investigation into hand, it is their bounden duty, they lodge a formal FIR on the basis of the complainant's FIR. So in this case also, let me tell you, Mr. Swami also, that CBI has already lodged a formal complaint at Delhi on the basis of the complaint of father of Mr. Sushant, number one. Number two, that it is the most unfortunate part that we are putting CBI in the dock of the accused at present. CBI, the whole investigation...
No, nobody is putting the CBI in the dock of accused, sir.
Mr. Madhav, just listen.
Sir, nobody is saying the accused. We are just asking questions. Questions asked to Mumbai Police also.
Mr. Madhav, let me reply, then you can counter me.
Go ahead.
Why I'm saying so? Because the CBI was appointed at the instance of the complainant, that is Sushant's father, right? I can understand, according to the Sushant's father, the Mumbai Police has committed some mess, and therefore he has no faith in the Mumbai Police, and therefore matter was entrusted to CBI. Mr. Madhav, kindly appreciate the whole case of SSR is based on the circumstantial evidence.
Okay.
There is no direct evidence.
Therefore, that's what I just asked Mr. Subramanian Swami.
Just listen, I will deal with Mr. Swami's objections also. And therefore, when the case rests on the circumstantial evidence, the investigating agency has to collect the chain of the circumstances and to connect the accused with the crime. Thirdly, there is no such provision under any Indian law to show the progress of the case either to the victim's family or to the media. There is no provision. Fifthly, now what has been alleged by the Sushant family there is no progress in the matter. How can we see that there is no progress?
Okay.
Fifthly,
Sir, you made a number of points. I'd like to quickly get a response. I'll come back to you, sir, but you made a number of points and I want to ask those points. One second, please, sir. We have limited time and we have to bring in other panelists also. Mr. Varun Singh, please respond to these charges that Ujjwal Nikam is making. Firstly, the premise that there is no FIR is wrong. He also says that there is no legal imperative for the CBI to reveal the status to the public or to the media or to anyone at large, and also says that there is a lot of circumstantial evidence in this case, but there's nothing clinching. So why are we questioning the CBI? Is the statement coming in from Mr. Ujjwal Nikam? Please respond to that.
Right. Yes, so firstly, I would definitely agree to the point that there is a registration on FIR, so there is no quarrel about that. The other aspect that the family itself instigated for getting the CBI into the picture, and now if there are any questions being raised, that for that very purpose, I just wanted to remind that there are plenty of Supreme Court judgments to suggest that if at all at any point of time there's something which is not going in accordance with the information that has been provided, and if you feel that those evidences have been looked into, as you have yourself in your channel played many of such things, which may seem to suggest that they are extremely credible for the purpose of investigation. If those things have been ignored, then of course a court-monitored investigation can be looked into. However, having said that, I'm not suggesting that it should be the case in the present case. I would just like to add one small thing which Dr. Swami had suggested, and I think that's pivotal for the entire country and going forward as well. The aspect of the distinction between the police and the state and the authorities which kind of are in charge of it. There is a Supreme Court judgment. In fact, as we speak, there is a matter which we are also doing in Supreme Court, where a Supreme Court in 2006 in Prakash Singh judgment had categorically said that there should be a arm's length distance between the police and the state authorities. And
absolutely.
If that was to take
well, there's
place,
no doubt about that. There's no doubt about the fact that agencies have to be
there,
independent. There's no question. The Supreme Court has, in its own words, called a CBI a cage parrot in the past. But my question to Dr. Suman C. Raman is this. Dr. Suman C. Raman, is it possible at all that the CBI, and I put this question just across a few minutes ago to Subramaniam Swamy, when I asked him that is it possible that the CBI is just following its procedure? As an agency that is a professional agency, it has to follow due procedure, and nobody can second guess what the complexities of this investigation are before it is actually concluded.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, Madhav, that Dr. Swamy is using this again to now settle another set of political scores. I mean, he's been hitting out at people in the PMO and he is continuing on that track. So he's basically using this to settle some scores. He's not produced any shred of additional evidence over and whatever is in the public domain. And the important thing is, look, until a month ago, everybody was shouting, give it to the CBI, give it to the CBI, despite the fact that neither the court nor the CBI till date have found anything wrong with the Mumbai Police investigation in specific
But there is a premise, sir. There is also the premise, Mr. Suman C. Raman, that the CBI has dragged its feet. The court at least believes so in the case of Moin Qureshi. So this is the second such case, and I'm told even in the coal scam there were questions being raised about the CBI's probe and the pace of the probe in specific.
Madhav, the credibility of the CBI is far from being anything that one can write home about. But it was you and your fellow anchors who kept saying that the Mumbai Police was working to sabotage the investigation, and therefore once the CBI steps in, everything will be solved. Now, 1.5 months later, because the CBI simply may not have the evidence necessary to actually take it in the direction that you and...
I'm sorry, Suman C. Raman, I beg to differ. There were some very specific instances which pointed out to a possible cover-up by certain officers in the Mumbai Police. I think even you would agree that there were several unanswered questions. Suman C. Raman, please, just for a minute, from the post-mortem to the mysterious circumstances of the crime scene which appeared to be dressed, to the manner in which the accused were being treated, they all raised a lot of questions, and we completely stand by that. So please don't try today and come and say that just because the CBI is being questioned by us that we are not, that we gave a clean chit to the CBI. No. If we question the Mumbai Police, we are questioning the CBI also now, sir. We are questioning the CBI now also. So please don't come out and, make it out to be that we were completely, only blinkered in our vision of it. Let me also bring in.
3.5 years, what has happened? You have not raised that question at all.
We are raising a simple question, sir, of the SSR case, which we have a limited scope over here today as far as the debate is concerned, and the role of the CBI, which we have also brought in the case of Moin Qureshi and also the coal scam that was referred to by another panelist. Let me quickly now bring in Kishore Tiwari. Kishore Tiwari ji, CBI की जो ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड है वो सबको दिख रही है आज के डेट पे, और कहीं ना कहीं people are asking these questions that is the CBI really doing a professional job? Of course, nobody is second guessing or doubting the role of the CBI as a premier investigating agency, but there are certain questions that are emerging from courts of law, from certain accused, certain interested parties in particular cases about whether the CBI is moving at the correct pace. Mr. Tiwari.
देखिए कैसा है, पहले मुंबई पुलिस पर हमने दबाव डाला, ऐसा आरोप लगाया, कुछ लोगों ने तो हमको आरोपी भी बना दिया। अब माधव क्या हुआ, अब हमारे को तो बोला आपने FIR लॉन्च नहीं किया, ये नहीं किया, अभी सीबीआई ने कुछ प्रगति नहीं की, ऐसा दबाव डालने जा रहा है। अब सीबीआई की इंटीग्रिटी पे आपने भी सवाल उठाए, और सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी जी ने तो क्या बोल दिया मालूम है कि प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी जो है पीएमओ में वो दबाव डाल सकता है क्योंकि वो शरद पवार जी का पीए था। ये कितनी बड़ी बात है। अब सीबीआई पे दबाव डालने के लिए वरुण और विकास काम कर रहे हैं, ऐसा मैं बोलूं तो उनको बुरा लग जाएगा। ऐसा नहीं है, जब ये आत्महत्या है और उसको कोई डायरेक्ट एविडेंस नहीं है, उज्जवल निगम सर ने बताया है कि आपने इतना बवाल खड़ा किया, इतना बवाल खड़ा किया कि आपने मुंबई पुलिस और हमारी सरकार पर बहुत लांछन लगाए, लेकिन कुछ मिला नहीं। अब मैं बता रहा हूं, तुम सीबीआई पे लांछन लगाने लगे। अरे सीबीआई करप्ट है ये तो मालूम है। जो आप मोइन कुरेशी की केस बोलते हैं उसमें आलोक वर्मा और हमारे एसी सिंह का डायरेक्ट हाथ है, तो वहां तो बचाएंगे ही वो, लेकिन मुंबई के अंदर उन्होंने क्या किया ये विकास सिंह को मालूम भी पड़ गया।
Okay.
तो उनके फादर ने पैरेलल बिहार सरकार के पास एप्लीकेशन डाला।
जी Kishore Tiwari ji, I'm just interrupting you for a minute. We have to slip into a quick break. We'll continue with this debate in just a few minutes, requesting all our panelists to please stay with us.
The News Hour Special Edition. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back to the top story at this hour. This is, of course, the demand of the family as far as the SSR case is concerned, that the CBI, I beg your pardon, speed up its investigation. Rajiv Pandey, before we went to the break, Kishore Tiwari, the supporter of the Shiv Sena, was mentioning an aspect that the credibility of the CBI, he says, has always been under a cloud.
Kishore Tiwari ji can say anything. That is maybe his personal opinion. We have seen in this country, CBI has got conviction in many big cases, and you have seen that many corrupt people are inside jail. Let me come to this point, that nobody questioned Mumbai Police. It is the family of Sushant Singh Rajput question after more than 45 days. That investigation is not in the right direction. And after that, Bihar Police registered an FIR, and finally Supreme Court has handed over the investigation to CBI. One thing, what I'm trying to say, in my opinion, what I see as a lawyer, CBI is diligently investigating this case, and you can't put pressure because finally CBI has to give the evidence whether this is a suicide.
What applied to Mumbai Police should not apply to the CBI, sir? It's almost 40 days now.
I'll tell you. In case of Mumbai Police, within 48 hours, police commissioner said it looks like a suicide. CBI has not said anything about what they are investigating, what is in their mind, what is the evidence.
Sir, this is an issue where there's huge, forget the side of the family, there's a huge interest publicly. People want to know what has happened. What is the justification for not bringing out what has at least transpired thus far, or at least even issuing a statement saying that the present status of the investigation means that we cannot reveal what has happened or what we have found so far?
Madhav, under no CRPC, no section or
I'm not saying there's a CRPC section, sir. I'm talking about the interest and the perception that is being built. There is a perception that is being built that the CBI is dragging its feet, and at least Moin Qureshi's case is not about CRPC. It is not about Times Now or any other channel. This is what the court is saying. This is what the court is saying, sir.
No, court may say,
court may say.
Several
Court may say.
Because in that case, what has happened, I am not aware. Madhav, nor you are aware. Why court has given this indictment against CBI?
But I find it amazing that you're saying court may say. Anyway, let me get a quick response from Mr. Tiwari because I had to interrupt him earlier. Kishore Tiwari ji, जवाब दीजिए.
नहीं, आज राजू पांडे डिफेंस में चले गए. क्या होता है, ये बड़े बड़े आवाज में हमारी पुलिस पे आरोप लगाते थे. अब सीबीआई पे ही सवाल उठा दिए उसी फैमिली ने जो हम पे उठा दिए. आप समझ लीजिए, आप दबाव डाल रहे हैं, सीबीआई पे दबाव डाल रहे हैं. आप SSR की फैमिली सीबीआई पे दबाव डाल रही है, मुझे समझ में नहीं आता. आपने महाराष्ट्र पुलिस पे दबाव डाला, अब सीबीआई पे दबाव डाल रहे. अरे कौन है, कोई आदमी एक आत्मघात को
Varun Singh, respond to that.
कैसे बताएगा?
Varun Singh, is this a case of pressuring the CBI? Because Mr. Tiwari believes that it is a case. First, Mumbai Police was pressured, and now CBI is being pressured. That is his position. Your response to that, Varun Singh?
Clearly to tell what has happened actually.
I don't know if he. I don't know who all has read 154, but as Dr. Swami was suggesting earlier, I give a clean.
It was a serious allegation.
And to say that nothing came out from that is now. See, let me complete, sir, and you can respond to that. So, allegations are made that because no written complaint was given, therefore no FIR was registered earlier. If that's the position. If an investigation takes after clearly seeing that any kind of information is given to you and you have to henceforth register the FIR immediately. Supreme Court noticing that you are, putting a DGP under quarantine in bad taste. All these things have already been said so many times. I don't.
All right, Varun, I'm sorry. There's a problem with your line there, but we're completely out of time on this debate. I'd like to thank all you gentlemen for joining us. Ujjwal Nikam, Suman C. Ravan, Varun Singh, Rajiv Pandey, Kishore Tiwari for joining us on this debate. We will, of course, see how the CBI's probe comes along, but certainly questions that are being raised by different sections because people want to know what has actually transpired, what has been found by the CBI, and questions also coming as far as various other cases are concerned about the pace in which CBI's investigations are taking place.
The News Hour Special Edition.